Was so excited when they told me our next guest was going to be here. They called me before they announced it to the public so I would settle down. And I'm so excited. I love to find out that there are people out there that were friends with Elvis that maybe sometimes you don't know the connection. But I found this piece of video when I started searching, and I think it'll help me introduce and show the kind of fun relationship these two gentlemen had. So just take a look at this. This is from backstage at Clam Bake, behind the scenes. Sometimes when you have my job, you have to do a long, flowery intro to tell the audience who someone is. But in this case, all I have to say is, ladies and gentlemen, Elvis fans, Lee Majors. Great to meet you.
Thank you, brother.
My goodness, we've been awaiting. I appreciate the blue suede shoes. Look at this. Yeah, you know you're in Memphis now, don't you?
I got the memo.
Yeah.
What's that blue?
Look at this. Yeah, I'm looking pretty good here. Tell you what,
We're a couple of old guys.
well, you know, we're holding up pretty good. We're on the right side of the ground, right? Yeah, the upside.
I was surprised we have an audience. You know, a couple of days ago, I was talking to Tom on the phone, and I said to him, I said, Tom, what if nobody shows up for me? No, you know what he said? He said, you bring Elvis, they will come. There you are. I think he's here.
I think he's here. You're exactly right. So glad you're here. And that little clip we showed was from when Elvis was filming Clam Bake, and you guys obviously had become friends. Tell me how you met Elvis.
Well, it was close to that time right there.
Yeah.
I think that was 1967. He was filming Clam Bake, and he was filming it on the 4-star studio lot. But that's where I was filming the Big Valley, same lot.
Yeah.
And also the producers that were producing that film was producing his movie.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm glad you got that clip, though.
Yeah.
The way this is going to go, though, Tom, I'll get to that in a second. But
Mr. Majors, you do whatever you'd like to do.
I asked you, I said, are we doing a Q&A type thing, interview? And he said, yeah. Well, I said, my Q&As kind of go like this. You ask me a question, and I'll answer the question you should have asked me. So, if you don't mind, I may as well start. It was a dark and stormy night. Oh, no, that's my wife, chapter.
Oh,
No, I'm writing a memoir, and I have been for the last 2-3 years, and I just suddenly finished Elvis's chapter about 2 months ago. So a little bit of this is fresh on my mind, and I thought, well, to help me out, I'll just pull some excerpts from it and share them with you if I could.
Yep.
So anyway, when I was graduating from high school in 1957, that's where Elvis was here buying this mansion, which he finally named Graceland. I never thought that 10 years ago that I would be meeting him, actually. But I met him in 1967 on the 4-star studio lot where I was filming Big Valley, and he was filming a movie called Clam Bake. And the producers of Big Valley were producing his movie. So he was, Elvis was obviously a huge fan of the Big Valley, believe it or not, and he liked my character. And he said he wanted to meet me. And so when they told me that, I said, well, heck yeah, I'd love to meet him, you know. So anyway, I got to go back. One thing is in 1964, Elvis was doing a movie you might know, I'm sure it's called Kissing Cousins. Well, he played identical twins, and to give him a different look, he had to dye his hair tinted blonde. And so his bodyguards, they all were watching that show, and the bodyguard started teasing him, saying he looked a lot like me, like Heath Barkley on the Big Valley. Because that first season, if you're Big Valley fans, my hair was lighter. They made me do it because that way I would maybe be more apt to be Linda Evans's brother. She was my sister, Audra, on the show. So that was why I had to tint mine, and you know why he tinted his. But anyway, that's how we both ended up with tinted hair. Anyway, I was on they brought me over to the set of his movie where he was shooting, and he and Shelley Fabre, and they were in a swanky restaurant, and they were sitting at the bar, and Elvis's character, he was doing his best to woo this girl, and so I was watching from the shadows, and he didn't know I was there, but I did see that the waiters they were wearing these little tassel hats with the little, turban, the Shriner hat kind of thing, a little shiny vest and everything. And so when they had finished rehearsing and went away to their trailers, Arthur Nadell, the director, he came over to me and he said, "That's this. You want to do something with this?" I said, "Sure." So I went back and I got into that outfit with the wardrobe people. They put me in the whole outfit. Went to the makeup lady. She put a mustache on me. And then when they came back, I was to slip in behind them as the waiter and clear a table. Like they're here, right back here. I mean, directly behind them.
Would you like to see that?
Yeah, and then they would be able to see it.
Let's take a look.
Lee Majors in
It's my first time
Clemson.
in Miami.
It's a big long
First night,
scene,
and you're the first girl I've met.
I thought I'd take a ride and look around.
Would you like to come along?
Oh, why not? It's outside, perfect.
Oh, I've got it. I'll see you as soon as we change.
Change?
Sure. Slacks are your best bet on a motorcycle.
They call it photobombing now. Yeah, well, anyway, we did that one take, and I was clearing the table, and I turned over a glass, and I dropped some silverware and stuff, and they just kind of looked around, nothing, and Arthur, the director, says, "Okay, let's reset and shoot it again." So take two, same thing. I did a little bit more, knocked over something else, and they said cut, and then they looked, nothing happened. And Arthur said, "All right, let's do it one more time." And so action, and I go in, and this time I really made a lot of noise. I knocked over 3 or 4 glasses and picked up and dropped the whole damn tray. And then he did turn around, both of them, and he looked at me, and then he realized who it was, and he just started laughing out loud like crazy. And the producer, directors, and the whole crew who was in on it, naturally, they had a lot of fun out of that. So, practical jokes started after that, believe me. And that film clip was about during that time, because my mom and dad happened to be in town and visiting me, and I said, "Do you want to meet Elvis?" They said, "Are you kidding?" Yeah, come on. So he came out. He came out of the soundstage and spent a little time with us and everything. He was very generous and a very kind man. I was very surprised by him because, believe it or not, we both are rather shy and well-mannered, and we were raised for it, like here, where it's yes sir and yes ma'am. He came from Tupelo to here, and I lived across the line only 400 miles from here, a place called Middlesboro, Kentucky, right on there. The one person that lives there is here. Anyway, you can tell us there. You know, there our parents taught us right from wrong and took us to church, and that's the start, and where we both started developing our faith. And he was, you know, the gospel music and stuff. So anyway, let's go to July 31, 1969. And that's when Elvis made his first appearance anywhere in 8 years. And it was at the International Hotel in Las Vegas, and had one of the largest showrooms in Vegas at the time. The Clark County Fire Department said you could only have about 1,100 people in here. That's the official count. But they stuffed 2,000 screaming fans in there every show. It was called the Hilton Hotel, and Elvis went on. He did 2 shows a night on the property for 7 years. That's a lot of work. Like a 7 or 8 o'clock show, and then a 10 o'clock show, and that's the to do that for 7 years, it wears on you. And I think that was kind of the start of him wearing down a little bit. But every year when my series would shut down, I would go in the summers, and I'd drive over, and I would see either the first show or the late show, because I had a little cabin over there on the lake, and that was my hideout. But he had a huge penthouse up on the top floor. Had all the trimmings, you know. It had a pool table and a great bar, and a lot of great food and stuff, and always some guests invited up after the late shows. And I was still getting to know the Memphis Mafia, you know, and that's the bodyguards, as you know, and surrounded them at all times. And anyway, the first night I was up in this room, and after the last show, and everybody was playing pool or something, and as I say, I was always kind of shy, and so I sat on a couch, kind of where I could just check out and observe the scene. A young lady came up, and she sat down, and she looked over and says, you know, who the hell are you? And she obviously had a couple of drinks. I mean, I don't know, in my 3rd or 4th year of Big Valley, but I mean, nobody knew it then. But, you know, anyway, I said, I'm just a friend of Elvis. And she proceeded to give me a slap on the cheek. And I didn't know why. I knew that she had a few to drink, but anyway, he must have been close enough to hear, because he came over and he pulled her up, and he asked her, he said, did he say something to offend you? And she said, I don't know, I just didn't like his attitude. I think Elvis took exception to the fact that this woman had insulted one of his guests, because he then slapped her right in the face and said, there, now you know how it feels. Sonny, he said, Sonny, get her ass out of here. I swear, that's, you know, but that's what. You know, later the guy said to me, you know, he must like you a lot to do that, you know, and I was kind of shocked he did it, but I thought it was classy, but it was not some of it was classy. Anyway, a mutual respect was really born there, and the guys became good friends. Red and Sonny West, Joe Esposito, Jerry Shelley, Lamar Fike, to name a few. Elvis, okay, after another show, I mean, there's many, many, many shows. I'm trying to pick out just a few for you. But another show, Elvis and Red and Sonny came over to me, and I didn't know what they wanted, and they huddled around me, and then Elvis pulls out this gold chain, and he puts it over my head. And it's the TCB. And they said, welcome to the Memphis Mafia. And I have it right here today. It's one of the favorite memories from 50 years ago, or more maybe. But, you know, all his Memphis buddies, he knew them well, he trusted them well, and I think when he welcomed me into that group, I really, you know, to me it was a big thing, and I'll never forget that. And you all knew what the TCB stands for and everything. I can skip through that. All right. Once when Elvis was ready to go down to the stage from the penthouse, just outside the penthouse door, there was an elevator. I think it was a service elevator. And we'd bring him out, and we'd open the thing, and a wheelchair would be there. Red would step in on one side and Sonny on the other, and of course they both were carrying, you know, pencil. And he'd sit down, the elevator would go down, he'd open up the kitchen, and then from there they would push him all the way through the kitchen, which is a long kitchen in Vegas Hotel, and through several other hallways and around, and it seemed like a quarter mile. But once the show was over, then he would come off stage, and they'd sit in the chair and they'd throw several towels on him because he was just sweating. I mean, the trip back was a little faster to get back to the elevator. You have to understand, this is Vegas, and it's always 110 degrees in the summer there. And that kitchen was a sauna with all those full ovens going. And so through many years, there were many pranks. Like one show, Elvis got to the elevator and the doors open, and I was sitting in the wheelchair. Sonny was on one side, Red on the other, but I had both their guns. And I said, come on in, son. All he said was, holy shit. So he came in. He loved the fun of it all. And I know another weekend when he came off the stage, I was in the wheelchair. And Red and Sonny started racing away with him chasing us behind and cursing us, believe it or not. And we turned the corner so fast, the chair tipped over against the concrete wall. I broke my watch all over the thing, and I'm on the ground, Red's on the ground, and Elvis got his revenge in the last laugh. One of my favorites, though, is when Elvis was on the other end of the stage, and he had a time when he would, and I was always standing behind the curtain somewhere, but he was over there, and he'd come out, and he had all these silk scarves around his neck. I'm sure you've seen it, if not in person, if you know, in films and stuff of his show. And he would lean over into the audience, and the girls would swoon and take a scarf. So I got some scarves over there from Red. I put them around my neck, and I do a little slow motion walk out there. And he kind of looks over, and I'm leaning down, and the girls do it. And he says, "That's enough, Lee. This is my show." This is my show, you know. So I did a little slow motion bionic walk off in sadness. You know, I guess that's why he nicknamed me Double Trouble. And that was after one of his films. So anyway, that's true. This is an interesting one because it's a little more intimate, kind of. There was a time after the first show, I knew I was going to leave to go back to my little cabin over on the lake, and so I would spend a little time because I know it's like halftime of a football game. You got to go to the bathroom, you got to you know, towel up, look clean. So I was there, and I said, "Oh, where is El?" I kind of mostly referred to him as El. And they said he's in the dressing room, and there was a cord going under the door. But they said, "Hey, want you to come in." So, okay. So as I was going, I saw a couple of little glasses and a bottle of bourbon. So I just kind of brought him in with me because I knew he was on the phone. So I sat down. He's on the floor, small closet kind of thing with some clothes in it, but he's on the floor, and I guess the long cord. They didn't have cell phones back then. You know, it was a phone that the line went about a mile down through the other hall. And of course, Elvis and all the boys are out there, and this was a private conversation, you know. And believe it or not, I know it was the girl, was Linda Thompson. Yeah, Linda was on the other end, and that was when they were first dating. And I don't know, I guess they were getting along, but it seemed like a serious conversation. But she's coming up next, you can ask her. Ask her, I don't know if Elvis told her I was on the floor by. So anyway, also, the guys are hanging outside, and the colonel's out there sweating bullets, looking at his watch. And, so finally, he came to the door and knocked. It was showtime. But while I was in there, I poured myself a little, shot a little glass, just sipped it, and I said, like that? And he said, yeah. So I put one down on the floor, and conversation, then he'd pick it up and have a little sip. And I wasn't paying attention, but he drank that whole sip, and I didn't know that he really didn't drink. And honestly, he didn't drink. And so that's why the colonel was pacing out there. Anyway, I said goodbye. I headed back to the lake house, but Red told me later that Elvis did a lot of that second show on a stool. They said that was the first, he did most of the show on a stool, and the colonel was not too happy. Elvis didn't ever want to admit it. I'm sure you heard it, but he always wanted to just do movies, but he wanted to do dramas. He wanted to be an actor and thought well as an actor instead of the shows he did, because, he just didn't like the little musicals and having to sing and everything. And let's face it, some of them were good and some of them were fairly good. But the colonel, he had a stranglehold on him, believe me. And if you ever saw the movie, I'm sure he did, the Elvis movie, that was Colonel Parker in there. And Tom Hanks did a heck of a job. He looked just like it. I mean, I could have swore that was Colonel Parker in that movie. But anyway, he kept him doing these musicals to fill the coffers, and his pocket, too. So, but I personally never did see Elvis drink or take drugs or anything like that. And the guys that were closest to him really cared about his health. And Elvis always said he would not see 50. He told me that, and everybody at one time or another, and his mother passed at 46, and he passed at 42, which is unbelievable. I mean, it's such a shame. And to this day, it bothers me. Anyway, Sonny wrote a book called, in 2007, called Elvis, Still Taking Care of Business. And he asked me to write something to the back of the book, and which I did. And I think it's one of the best of Elvis's books. Excuse me. And Linda Thompson, of course, who you'll hear later, she wrote a wonderful book, and there you can get behind the scenes, really, because she was with him, his girlfriend for many years there. But several years later, in 1976, Colonel Parker fired Red and Sonny, and he also broke up with Linda. And to me, that seemed to change him. It really did. That's when I saw that I never saw him much after that anymore, And it's funny, interesting, because Red and Sonny, they passed away within 2 months of each other in 2017. And anyway, this is what I wrote on the back of Sonny's book. To this day, I strongly believe that if those people had stayed with him, he would still be with us today. It's hard to be the king. And it was. Just one more time. I'm going to let you get out of here early for me. Anyway, but 28 years ago, the good Lord sent me down an angel. And she's the reason that I'm still here today, for sure. So I keep the faith. My wife, Faith Majors, is here somewhere up there, I think. But God bless her. I'm done. Thank you. I don't know.
That was fantastic. That was fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Look at that.
Well, look at you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We have a monitor up here that I can see what's on the screens. I was on TV with Lee Majors. And I am the luckiest guy in the world. I am the luckiest guy in the world. I was on this stage when Barbara Eden did the genie blink, and I just saw Lee Majors go bionic. How many other stars do you know? We had a hit series in the 60s, The Big Valley, hit series in the 70s, The $6 Million Man, hit series in the 80s, The Fall Guy. That's unprecedented. How many other stars do you know? We had a hit series in the 60s, The Big Valley, hit series in the 70s, The $6 Million Man, hit series in the 80s, The Fall Guy. That's unprecedented. Good friends with Linda Thompson. Red West was on multiple episodes of most of his shows, and he could, Red could take a punch, so Red could work a lot, And backstage right now is Pat West, Red's widow, who wanted to come up and see Lee. I'm telling you, there's another show going on backstage you don't even know anything about. There have been so many interwoven connections between all our guests. And our next guest and our last guest today is one that I've been spending evenings with across the street at Graceland. And we have had such a wonderful time going through. I thought I turned my watch off. It's my mom going, "You were